Hophal. Let us look at the Hophal paradigm, binyan. Okay, here we are. Now, the Hophal, as you know, is the passive of the Hiphil, just like the Pual is the passive of the PL. And so if you know the Hiphil, the Hophal is quite easy. Just like if you know the PL, the Pual is quite easy. Now, before we look into the details, let's see what we can discern from this page right here. The name here has clues. The hey, we expect at least the 3 mess to start with a hey, because that's what this is based on. So we see the hey all the way through the perfect. Okay, that's just like the Hiphil. And we have no imperative, but we do see the hey here in the infinitives. So hey in the perfect and in the imperatives and infinitives, just like the Hiphil. Now we have no imperative, right, because it's passive, just like the Pual. Okay, what's next? O. We have an O vowel. What is that? Well, it's this here, Hofkad. This is the Kametz Hatuf, right? The short O, not the long A. It's not a Kametz, it's a Kametz Hatuf. And we know because it is in a closed, unaccented syllable. The accent, unless it's written, is at the end of a word, so we know this is unaccented, and it's closed because it's CVC, consonant, vowel consonant, hey, this symbol, this vowel, and then pei. And CVC unaccented means you have a Kametz Hatuf as opposed to a Kametz. So you can go back and listen to or reread the lectures on, I don't know, chapter 4, chapter 6, somewhere in there. So this is our O vowel, Hofkad, and we see this all the way through. All through the perfect, imperfect goes all the way through, and all these forms. Every form has the O vowel. So, nice and consistent. Just like the Pual, the vowels are consistent through the whole thing. It seems like passive paradigms or passive binyan are more uniform. Okay, the last thing here is the A. So Hofal as opposed to Hiphil. So we have an A vowel. We got it there. We have it there and there. So we don't have it here because it's reduced. We expect that. We don't have the second person switch like we do in the Hiphil. It just stays A vowel all the way through here. Reduced because of vocalic ending. Okay, even stays here in the heavy endings. We got an A there, and look, over here in the imperfect too. So same theme vowel all the way through. A reduced because of vocalic ending. A again reduced because of vocalic ending. Here it's there, even with the big ending. Reduced because of the oo. A. So we have patach everywhere. We have it here. No reduced forms. And here it's reduced because of vocalic ending. Uh-oh, what's going on here? Why do we have a Kametz? Well, we've already seen this, right? The passive binyan have a Kametz to mark the passive participle. We saw this in the Nifal. The Nifal, in fact, that was the only difference in the Nifal between this form and the perfect. In the Pual and in the Hofal, we have a meme as well. So we have one other distinguishing mark. But we do see the Kametz here. So the Kametz marks the A. Or the Kametz marks the passive participle, sorry. But patach everywhere else so far. Patach here, and we have tsere. Why tsere? Well, you have a tsere just like you have in the Hiphil. And in the Hiphil module, I said that the infinitive absolute, a way to remember this, is marked by the holum vav or holum, theme vowel, or a tsere. Remember, in the infinitive, or in the Hiphil, there was a tsere here, but there was a hidik yud here. And I was telling you this to help you remember how to distinguish these two. The first 4 binyan, if you look at your chart at 544, 555, if you look at the absolute, you'll see that the first 4 binyan have holum or holum vav, and the last 3, the Hiphil or the Hiphil, the Hiphil and the Hofal, have tsere. Okay, they have these ones. And if you look through all the weak verbs, you'll find that this holds true, except for one case, and I will let you find it. If you go and take a look at the infinitive absolutes and all your weak verbs, you'll see one case where that's not the case. But other than that, they're either holum vav or holum, or tsere. So, hey, we've seen it here and here, just like the Hiphil, O vowel for our first vowel, our short O, and that's everywhere, so the whole thing, very nice. And our theme vowel is present everywhere unless it's reduced by vocalic ending, which we've seen a million times, or the marker of the passive participle, the comments, takes precedence, or the marker of the infinite absolute. In this case, the tsere takes precedence. Okay, now I'll go and repeat everything again as we look at this in more detail, or do another pass through it anyway. So I've divided them up here just like the Hiphil. We have hey over here and hey over here, and these are the prefix forms where the hey gets squished out. It doesn't assimilate, it just drops. That's all I'm saying here. Hey in these two, the red ones, and hey absent over here. Okay. What was I going to say next? Okay, now this is a little bit different. What we have here in the Hiphil, we had a division down here, right? I said all these forms, we have for the Hiphil this is now, we had the patach as the theme vowel. Remember? We had a class prefix vowel. Sorry, I just said theme vowel. Patach for the prefix vowel. A class prefix vowel, and then we had either hidik yud or tsere, I class theme vowel. In the Hofal, we have short O, comma tatuf, which is a U class vowel, for the prefix vowel, and in A class, the patach for the theme vowel. See this here? Comma tatuf, patach, comma tatuf, patach. So one difference with the Hiphil is that it's a different vowel combination. We have A class plus I class for Hiphil. We have U class plus A class for Hofal. And it's easy to remember that because it just comes straight out of the name. The other difference is that in the Hiphil, where you have A class plus I class, that only applied to everything except for perfect. Perfect was an oddball. So you drew a big line down here. It applied to all these. In the Hofal, it applies to everything. So, again, another example of how these passive binyan seem to be more homogeneous. This pattern applies right across the board. Okay, that's all I'm saying here. The Hofal has U class plus A class. The Hiphil has A class plus I class. Okay, what this means is commutative, and then you have patach, except for infinite absolute. Okay, I guess I should have noted that, but we already talked about it. The infinite absolute is the one where you have the tsere, because tsere marks the infinite absolute. In the passive participle, the vowel is a little different, but it's still A class. It's still the comments, right? Comments is A class, just like patach is A class. This, of course, is not the comments. The comments are tuf, O class, or U class, U O class, whatever. Okay. And then the other thing is that this distinctive vocalization for the Hofal is true for all the forms, except for the infinitive absolute, because it has that tsere there. But really, it's true for all forms, while in the Hiphil, it's true for all except for the perfect. The perfect was different. Okay, let's look at the perfect and the infinitives. These are the ones with the hey on it. What can we say about them? They have the hey, and they have the commutative. Well, big deal. They all have the hey, that's what makes them their group, and everything has the commutative. The U class beginning here, right? Oh, hof kad, hof kade. Okay, not hard at all. Now I'm probably talking about theme vowel here, seeing as I've highlighted the ones with vocalic suffixes. Let's see what I wanted to say here. Theme vowel is patach unless it reduces to shava because of vocalic forms, vocalic endings, or it has a tsere because that's the marker of the infinite absolute, right? Patach throughout, unless it's reduced, or unless we're talking about the infinite absolute where you have the tsere. Already said all that. What about the prefix forms? These are the forms without the hey. This is where the hey gets squished out. Well, the hey drops, like I just said. That's what makes this set. Commutative everywhere. Well, that's not only true here, it's true for the entire binyan, but commutative everywhere. And patach is the theme vowel for most forms. Again, patak is the theme vowel through everything, unless it's reduced. Here it's reduced. These are all vocalic endings, right? Here, and here, and here, just like we had here and here. And also our cohortative has a vocalic ending, so it's reduced as well. So patak for all forms unless it's reduced, or you have the special marker for the passive participle, just like you have a special marker for the infinitive absolute, which happens to be tzere, and this is the comments. So we've said all that as well. Here I'm just marking the forms that have the vocalic ending. So I, U, and A. And they, of course, reduce the theme vowel. And theme vowel is shava if it's vocals. Okay, vocalic forms reduced to shava. And here I'm going to say the comments marks the participle, just like in the nifal, the pual, and the hofal. That's this over here, right? Okay, identical forms. What do we have? Well, back to the yellow ones. The imperfect and the jussive is the same in the Hofal. In the strong verbs, remember, it's only the Hiphil that has a reduced jussive and a reduced preterite. These two are reduced in the Hiphil. In all the other strong verbs, we'll see that they are not reduced, which means that the imperfect and the jussive are the same. When we get into weak verbs, we're going to see more forms that have reduced or more binyan in weak verbs that have reduced suffixes. But in the strong verbs, it's only the Hiphil. And the other thing is that the way all this shakes out, once you put it all together, is that the perfect 3ms and the infinitive construct are the same. So that's interesting. Perfect and infinitive construct are the same. Okay, and that's it for the Hofal. The Hofal, again, is not too difficult, especially if you know the Hiphil, and it's more regular than the Hiphil. Its patterns extend through more of the forms than you have with the Hiphil.